The art of letting go, as in for many of us, completely not caring. Yes, not caring. As in the outcome, I'm saying. See, okay, let me start over. To start and want to end a project or anything in life is to want to get it done, as in the starting point as well as the ending point. But what I'm beginning to realize is when I put the effort there and yet it's completely careless effort, as in not at all caring about the detail, I do so much better in life and I move so much more further than say when I do actually care about the detail. See, sometimes you can get caught up so much in the detail, as in things not coming out or not ending the way that you think and feel that they should, say in the realm of perfection of what I spoke on before. A lot of us, a lot of times, do certain things with the sole intent to receive an actual outcome going in the way of which we want that thing to go. And yet that does not always happen. You can plan something completely from top to bottom, expecting it for it to be this way or for it to end up that way, and yet it never turns out that way, or it doesn't turn out that way. So you have to be able to walk freely in life, as in being detached from the measurement of certain details and wanting things to be specific ways. Because to not let go of that is to get left, as in trapped behind. It's not saying you're trying to run with the rat race, but you can completely set yourself behind in life by focusing on that one very thing of what you want to be how it's not supposed to be. Everything happens for a reason. Some stuff is only put on your path to teach you a new skill and nothing more than that. And yet sometimes it's not expected of you by the universe to aim for perfection. Sometimes it's just to show you a progress of how to do certain things, as in learning. See, anytime there's a lesson involved, perfection should never stand in the way of the lesson and getting things done. You don't need, in order to learn a lesson, you don't need perfection involved. Because remember, a lesson will be just that. We're presented with lessons every day, and yet perfection is nowhere to be found. And yet sometimes a lesson comes along as a stumbling block or say a roadblock. So when I look back on my past experiences, because like I said before, one of the things that I struggle with the most is trying to make things perfect, expecting a perfect outcome, and then kind of being somewhat disappointed when that outcome doesn't point in that direction, as if it's not a smoothing sail, a sailboat going along on coast. That type of thing, when you set out for something to come out as you expect it and it doesn't, it kind of shakes and rock back and forth your sailboat. It does. And not only that, it feels as if it's throwing you completely off course, which could possibly be the universe setting out to do that as well. See, I think sometimes many of us are meant to be tested in life just to see how far we can go in the area of not giving up. See, to stand completely still somewhere and feel that you're not going anywhere despite you doing everything and you're trying your best and yet things are still not working in the way that you think that they should, sometimes could be a test from the universe. Trying to see what you're going to make of it is what I'm trying to say. Many of us are being tested even on a day-to-day basis, and yet that is completely unseen to the naked eye. As if we can't see what is completely there guiding our footsteps, and yet that being, such as a universe or God, whatever you choose to call it, is leading us and not misleading us. It's guiding us to something greater. And yet for many of us, sometimes we feel like we give our all. We're trying to reach our full potential, and we're doing all these things, and yet sometimes it feels as if it's not enough, as if it's not taking us anywhere. But I think somehow I'm sensing that's nothing more than a test. Because see, you can't, as I said before, you can't allow perfection to stand in your way. You gotta drive through perfection. And you can't have very strategic type of goals specifically, because even that can halt your steps. Because sometimes you can get so entwined in that very goal that you can't see other things outside of that, which can actually help in what you are in fact trying to achieve. I struggle with that as well. Why lie? Might as well be honest. If you're a human, say you're a human and be a human. I myself am completely imperfect. I've said that 3 times, not twice, 3 times on 3 different videos. My level of imperfection. That's a struggle day to day. I'm trying to get over, and more than likely, it will probably be a continuous struggle to the day that I die. Because to want to be better is humanness in itself. What human doesn't want to be better? I mean, sometimes we do surround ourselves with individuals here and there who have completely given up, as in them not wanting anything better and them not wanting to reach their full potential. There are individuals out here like that, and their sole intent is to pull you and yank you back down. Stop with them. He about to get on my nerves. Yes, he is with that barking. He barks at anything. Stop! No. So, I was just at the store and was just thinking about that. Because sometimes I think back, I'm trying to mature properly, but who's to say what's proper in that? I remember when I was doing marketing and stuff like that at a younger age, and promotion, like street type of promotion, but doing it online. A lot of stuff I didn't care about. I didn't even care about the outcome. I cared about nothing at all, right? If for some weird reason back then, some of my greatest results fell right on my lap, and me not caring. Back then, I didn't care at all about, it seemed like I didn't really care about anything. And even that was for a season. Even that was a season placed there by the universe to show me something. Back then. But it's like, because I think what it is sometimes you can care so much, you actually put yourself in the way of resistance. As in, you actually want an outcome, right? But you start to actually push against that outcome when you care a lot about various things that you want to work out in the way that you want them to work out. That's what I'm noticing. And even when I was in college, I noticed that. I had to be called out on my own thing. That's what I'm saying. While I was in college, I was noticing every time I will put in all this effort, for some unknown reason, I feel and think that's going to be, once again, I said that's my struggle, but I think that's going to be the struggle to the day that I die. As in releasing. The art of releasing and the art of letting go, as in full detachment. I think that's a gift from the universe which has been sent to me to teach me something. As in not constantly grasping on. See, because the more that you grasp onto something, the more you want to control that very thing. And that's the thing that I be struggling with, because I don't like, And I said this on Twitter. I like to freely flow, right? I like to freely flow with things. But sometimes I fight against that very thing of flowing because it feels like I'm flowing with the air to the point I don't have nothing to grip and hold on to. So it's just as if the universe has sent that to me on my journey to be my lifelong lesson or something. That's what I feel. The way in which I operate, it's almost like I'm trying to practice some of the things that I did in reverse of not caring. But as soon as I give up all caring, as in completely letting go, as in detaching from the very things I care about, it makes me feel completely unsettled. And what I do is I'll start to like try to grip on that very thing once again, or try to grip on something else, so that I'm not completely just going with the flow. That whole going with the flow, it puts like a feeling of not fear, but angst. 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 It puts angst within me. The go with the flow mindset helps you. It better prepares you for things. Because if you allow your whole human space to be open, then you allow yourself to experience that thing. And that thing that you allow yourself to be experiencing is planted there for you to do something future-wise. But if you keep standing in the way, then you're going to, in fact, halt that very thing. And that's what I seem to be struggling with right now in this time season. I didn't start struggling with that until, let me see, when was that? I think that was, I know it was years back when I first attended college, like years upon years back. But then it disappeared for a while, and then it didn't happen again until, let me see, around the year 2008, 2009, I didn't really care. 2007, I really didn't care. So somewhere around 2007 is when it started, of me not really caring. I didn't care about anything. I didn't care what went like this and what went, it just did not matter to me. I'm like, you know what, the whole roof can cave in and I don't care. I'm completely letting go of the outcome. But I didn't understand back then what the outcome was. In the realm of spirituality, I didn't understand that back then. I just did not care. I just was like, whatever. So 2007 is somewhere around the time period when it started. And then that went from 2007 up until 2007 up until maybe 2013, a little bit. It started to come back in of me caring about many things. And then it kind of evaporated again in me not caring once again in 2013. And I started to be how I was back in 2007, I started to almost act like that in 2013 and not caring. And then I started to get stuck and almost tangled in caring again somewhere around mid 2014, mid 2015 is where it's like all this kind of deep-seated type of fear, because it's angst, but it don't really feel like fear, right? But I think as humans, we crave the attachment of something. Like this drink I'm drinking on, this is in fact chicken broth, right? Drinking it for health reasons, right? It's like we as humans have a tendency to latch on to things, to latch on to something. So maybe the reason why I wasn't in so much fear and angst back then is because it was this one particular thing, in which I won't say, in relation to online stuff that I was doing with marketing. I think because I was so attached to that. So maybe that covered it. But now I feel like I'm freely drifting. And so I have to replace whatever that was. It wasn't drugs or anything like that, but I was really heavy in promotion, I can say. Promotion and marketing. But it was a certain connection there in which I was completely engulfed in. So that whole rhythm and everything with that in the area of needing to attach to something and not really expecting certain outcomes, that handled that. Because I was so busy and attached to what I was already doing, marketing and promotions, I was too busy to pay attention to trying to let go of outcomes. I didn't care. See, you can fully carry out actions and be so enthralled in that very thing of what you're doing. You don't see other things that's going on around you. Because I was working so much. That's another thing too. You know, many humans have deep-rooted, deep-seated issues in which they don't speak on. And yet I'm the type of individual that speaks on them because I try to find a resolution. But for some weird reason, I feel like there's no resolution to be found at this time. Because I remember back, that was last summer, somewhere around August, September, I was allowing myself to go with the flow. I be having an issue with that. I was allowing myself to go with the flow last year. As in not expecting different outcomes or not expecting too much. But I kept wanting to chain myself. I remember I was on Twitter saying, I need an anchor. I need an anchor. I don't like how this feel. I do not like how this feel. It was completely unsettling. And I'm gonna possibly have to ask some people, what do they do when they get that feeling of the going with the flow? That in itself makes me feel almost not timid. Timid is not the word. But I don't like the sensation of going with the flow. Because it's almost like it's no control in that. It's almost like like somebody kicked you out of an airplane and said, fly. That's what it feels like. Going with the flow. Going with the flow and letting go of things. It feels like you have no anchor. Like you have nothing that you could actually grab onto and just latch onto. Going with the flow and letting go of outcome is almost like you're free falling. And whatever shows up to catch you is what you got to take for the moment. But still you're not allowed to hold on to it. Like I don't really like that. It upsets me. Not really with tears or anything like that, but it upsets me in the area of to not have control of a situation is to be put out by that very situation, as in me trying to leave. It's whack. That's what I'm saying. You notice I've been losing some weight. I said I think that was about 3 weeks ago, when I said I wanted to lose 30 pounds. You can start to see it almost in my face. Because with this broth, I started picking that back up, drinking it. But I wasn't even focusing on that. It's like when I don't focus on stuff, I see my results. And yet when I fully focus on it, I don't see results. Or they, in fact, move slower. I don't like that. You know, when you can be honest about life, I should make videos about that, the things that I don't like about life. I appreciate life. One thing I do like about life is being given the allowance to experiment and try new things, right? But that's one of the things I don't like. It's because, as I said before, my greatest results have been me doing stuff and walking away from it. And when I walk away from it, things blow up. But when I do stuff and say I focus on that thing, everything comes to a standstill. Everything. It's like everything stops. Have a goal. That's why I might have to actually slow down on goals. My goals have been my greatest asset in my past. And me writing stuff down, saying I'm going to write this down and I'm going to get that done because I'm a goal-driven individual. But somehow, the longer I go, it's like I'm sometimes becoming so attached to that goal. Once again, like I said before, I can't see anything else. That it's almost like as if I'm stagnating into the goal. Like I'm driving head on into the goal, not like I have in the past, but it's like I'm driving head on into the goal and I'm falling right into the pothole of the goal. And then there's no getting out of the pothole. There's no seeing nothing else. So I just think and feel I'm going through some type of test. As in letting go of all attachments. That's mom's clock playing in the background. I hate that clock. I shouldn't say hate because that's a very bad word saying you hate something. But I don't like that clock. It's speaking Amazing Grace. Yeah, I think that's where I'm at right now. Is learning to let go. I don't like that. That is a struggle in itself. Because that's why sometimes like I said, I've been moving on from my past, but sometimes that's why I go back in my past to see how I was responding. Sometimes when you struggle with a very thing, sometimes one of the best ways to get through it, of what you're struggling with, is to go back and see what was your response back then. It is. Because depending on what your response was back in your former years, your younger years, depending on what your response was back to certain things back then and you actually lived through it, is to see how can you formulate and format that very thing for today. That's where I'm at. I don't ever want to, like, I've come across people that they live in their past and they stuck in their past. They don't ever grow and evolve out of their past, right? But even your past serves a greater purpose in helping you in the area of where you're going. And I'm saying not in repeating the same things as in the actions you did completely throughout your whole life, but just seeing how your response was back then. Sometimes when I struggle with certain things today and I feel like I can't really endure as in get through it, sometimes I roll back in memory certain time frames and periods to see how I handled certain situations back then to set my footing here and today. When I made that video about, I feel lost, I was struggling with the whole feeling lost. Not in identity, but when people stand around question you what you're going to do next and how you're going to do this and how that, and you're asking yourself as well, sometimes mass confusion come out of that. Because some of the stuff that you tried to do, say in your past, didn't fully work out. So that can make you sometimes feel hesitant in trying certain other things, because in fact that they might work out, but they might not turn out in the way that you actually want them to go. I don't really like that. It's a control issue. Yes, it is. Trying to be domineering of your own life and have total control. I said that before, it can set you back, but the whole loss thing is because I was trying out. See, I love to experiment, as I said that. But at the same time, in the end of me experiment, sometimes with those experiments, I want certain things to go how I want them to go. And when they don't, it makes me not want to try again, even in other areas. It does. Because some of this stuff I experiment with, sometimes depending on when I get attached to it, like I said before, sometimes the results come out minimum and I'm not completely satisfied with that. Sometimes that can mess yourself up too in life when you expect everything to be blowing up as big things. That's an issue. It's a personal issue. I'm doing a personal analyzation right now. Hopefully you can do that same thing if that's your struggle as well, you being the viewer. You know, to be presented with a struggle is to see it as it is. Taking it more for just face value, as in not just sitting there and saying this is it, as there is no more. You never know what life holds. Life can hold some very great treasures. I've seen that myself. And yet even in the midst of that, sometimes is a standstill in trying to figure out. Because I was like, when I was in college, trying to figure out why was some of my best results, even when I would take my test, certain tests I would take and I didn't have time to study, right? And I was all stressed out, right? And I remember one night I was laying there trying to go to sleep. And I was completely stressed out. And what came over my mind, it wasn't me. It had to be the universe. God, whatever you call it. Something said in my mind, I don't know and I don't care. It kept playing in my mind because, see, to take a test, especially at a college like the one I attended, they're a private college, but a lot of their stuff being high paced and quick in intensity, how they drive their stuff really quickly for you to get done. If you don't do it properly, sometimes it's to force you to retake that whole class. And that type of stress is the type of stress which can lead to a heart attack, which at one point made me sick, made me want to drop out, right? And so I felt like I was being mentally tormented. Yes, I did. While I was in college going through this particular class, I was so stressed out, laying there trying to go to sleep, feeling completely being like I was being mentally tormented by stress itself. Something spoke over me like a whisper and said, I don't know and I don't care. Because I studied it. I studied a little bit, but not all. It wasn't enough time. To not have enough time is to not be able to do, right? And so it didn't leave me with enough time to really study. So that's why I was all stressed out and frantic. And in a sense, paranoid in a sense, like if I don't pass this, man, they gonna make me repeat this class and I'm just gonna have a heart attack and stroke and die right there in the middle of the class while taking the test. That's how I was thinking, right? So it's like something just, something gathered within me, a whisper. It was like a voice, not up here, a voice down here in my gut where intuition sits. And it literally spoke and said, you know what? I don't know and I don't care. I couldn't even turn it off. I could not even turn it off. It just kept saying over and over and over and over till I calmed down. I don't know and I don't care. I don't know and I don't care. I don't know, I don't care. I don't know and I don't care. It just kept saying it. But I wasn't saying it out loud. I could just feel myself, just something within, like a guide was speaking that to me. And next thing you know, I calmed down to the fact I fell asleep. And next thing you know, it was the next morning. And then when I took my test, I was completely all right. I'm saying not during the time I was taking the test, because even that voice of intuition came back even right then to calm me down, right? But when it was time for me to in fact take the test, it was like I had moments in and out where I just didn't care. I kind of unleashed myself is what I'm saying. Even college had to show me that. School, yeah, before I graduated, finally. I would have moments when I will be doing these assignments, right? They were online assignments that we had to do. But every time I would try to chain myself to it, it would be like my soul, my spirit will want to chain onto that very assignment that I'm doing and want it to go in the way I wanted it to go. But every time I would do that, I would mess up and have to redo the assignment. It was one assignment I had to do that was online. You could do it as many times. It was like some type of test that prepared you for the actual test. I had to do that very thing 8 times. No lie. I talked to my mom about that. I had to do it 8 times because I was so stressed out trying to make sure I did this thing right. This actual false test like it was. It was preparing you for the actual test. I didn't want to fail it. So I got where I was stressed out, and every time I would take it, I would mess up. And how the test was set up was, if you messed up on any area, right, you had to have 150 right on there. And halfway through, sometimes I would get up to 80 and then completely mess up and have to go all the way over, because that's how the test is. It doesn't continue to count. Once you mess up at say like 80, 85, but you got to get 150 right. If you mess up at like 85, you got to start the test all over. So I had to take this test 8 times. I did. Why lie? I had to take it because I was so stressed out. Thinking about, I was kind of trying to go ahead of my steps. I was basically like, I want to graduate. I'm tired of being here. I just want to get done with this whole program that I chose to enroll myself into. If I can just graduate and get my paper, as in being completely done, I will be set. So my mind and my focus was completely set on that, to the fact it was pushing me behind in my steps. Every time I would take that test, to take a test 8 times is to say something is wrong there. And it's not me being intellectually stunted. It was more going on. It was stressed. It was chained into the outcome. The outcome if I can just graduate. Because I kept telling my mom, every time I would get done with something, assignment, I'd be like, oh, I'm so happy. I can't wait till I get done and graduate. That was the sole focus. But every time I focused on that whole graduating, I will mess up on everything. Assignments messed up. What else? There was a class assignment. Matter of fact, in this last class, because I was like, oh, please, I was begging the universe, please let me get done so I can graduate. That's going to be a mighty great example of setting the outcome for what it is, as in me controlling the outcome, right? When I took this last class, that's the last class that I needed in order for me to graduate. Somehow, during one of my last assignments, it was something, it was one of the first assignments or something, but it was the last for like the class, right? Going in and out for the program. I ended up sending this man, as in my instructor, a file. And yet, I actually put the file together. You got what I'm saying? It was a gigabyte, about, let me see, 1 to 3 gigs is an actual file, because I can't really specifically say the whole thing was supposed to actually be 3 gigs. But because I messed it up trying to force an outcome, it only stood around 1 gigabyte, because I didn't put everything in the file like I was supposed to. Everything that I sent to him, it wasn't completely there. And so he gave me a 0. I was completely pissed. I was like, you know what? More than likely, I won't be graduating this program. I'm more than likely completely done. That's what I was telling myself. I was. Because to be focused, completely focused on graduating is to take it there, as in put your all into what you're doing. And I put my all in that assignment, which is too why I made this video, for me even to see that, because I forgot about that till I'm speaking on it now. I put my full all in that assignment. My full all. And I was so stressed out of making sure I got it in on time, to the fact when I sent it to him, everything wasn't even there, to the fact he couldn't even open it. And when he did attempt to open it, he tried to open it. Finally, something ended up opening for him, and yet only a few things was there. So he had to dock me down, as in give me a complete 0. Absolute 0. After all the effort being put, you don't know how frustrated I felt and pissed I felt. I literally broke down in tears. I did. And I ended up talking to my mom about it. Because me being an adult at almost 40, who doesn't talk to their mom when they're frustrated? I almost lost it, is what I'm trying to say. Because to put in all this effort and know you're about to get done, as in the graduating process, and school is contacting you about your graduating and how graduation is coming up, right? To be almost done, as in there, is to be done. But to be given a 0 is to know, in fact, you might have to repeat this class, in which I wasn't trying to do. So yes, I broke down in full-blown tears, as in completely bawling, completely stressed out to the maximum. But that was a lesson that taught me, in a sense, not to be chained to the outcome. Because I'm still trying to figure out, I mean, I know why. But as a human, you know, even the universe or God will say to give your all. But for me, it just seems like when I give my all to stuff, it's not the best. It's not the best. As in it puts me back. I should Google that. When I give my all to something, it doesn't work out. I don't know why that is. The things that I don't give my all to, I'm saying, when I say that I give my all, I'm saying when I walk into a situation and I care and I give my all, that whole thing leads to a complete disaster. But when I walk into a situation and I don't care about it, none of it, I don't even care if it's set on fire, then it's like boom, an explosion of greatness happens. That's irritating. It is. Because to not care about something on one side and to not care about something on one side and then totally care about the very thing on the other side is to know resistance stands in the middle. But I don't really like that though, because I feel like in everything you should give your all. You might not should have to look for the particular outcome, but I be trying to understand, like, universe, God, whoever, why is that? You know, it's like sometimes with goals, certain things, see, college was probably there, as I said before, to teach me that. Because there was times where my grades was sliding. I think that was, like some people say, a trick from the enemy. That's what Christian people say. That's a trick from the enemy. I don't really believe in that. Could be a trick from the universe. But it was at times when I was in college and my grades, they were sliding down. Right? Because I could see it was a circle and it would tell you what your grade was up at the top, right? And so sometimes my grade would be sliding down, but then at the end, I ended up, once the class was completely over, I ended up receiving an A. But every time I would see that grade sliding down, I would completely flip out. Not flip out mentally, but just have an anxiety, complete meltdown of, oh my gosh, I'm going to fail this class. And many people that go to Full Sail feel the same exact way. They know what I'm speaking on. That anxiety of having to retake stuff, because see, you're already stressed out once you already enroll in the class. And so to be forced to take it again and say no, you might end up in the hospital from a heart attack or stroke because their classes are laden with anxiety. Yes, it is. And so just by what they force upon you and them not giving you a lot of times, your average college gives you about at least a week to do something. Full Sail only give you about two days, if even that. So it was just, that experience was crazy. Every time I would see that grade from different classes falling down, I'll be like, oh my gosh, why is my, like this last class that I was speaking about. And even with the other ones, the grade was showing me it was sliding down. I sign on and the grade would go down. It'd be like 82, 85, 84. You know, like it would go up and down or something crazy like that. Like they whole grading system as in a measurement is completely weird and off. Full Sail, yes. Because I was on some type of sliding grade going here and there. I had a grade, it was 80, and I just flipped all the way out because we wasn't even completely through that actual class. We were like halfway through. And yet I had about maybe 2.5 weeks to go. So I was like, oh man, I got an 80. This is all bad. I'm about to fail this class. That was what I was thinking. And so I was trying to force the outcome of contacting the instructor to tell him, look, can I do extra stuff for extra credit? What can I do? Trying to force that outcome. And then in the end, even though I got a 0 on a 1 assignment, in the end, I ended up receiving a B. Yes, I received a B at the end of the class, but to have 80 is to know that you're sliding down almost to a C. And it was still sliding down, even going towards the end of the class. So I don't know what happened with that, but I'm thinking I can no longer force my outcomes. Because when I do, they completely slip out of my hands and go somewhere else. And even sometimes when I don't try to force it, it slips and goes somewhere else. Sometimes life I question, you know, because I've heard before people say you create your own destiny. You create your own destiny, you create your own legacy, you're in control of your reality, you're in control of your life, and yet the longer I live, I said that before in the other video, that's almost partially true. We and humans cannot be completely in control of our full destiny. That's almost a lie from hell. That's a joke. I keep bringing up Christian stuff. I hope I'm not offending anybody, but I'm not a Christian, but I just keep bringing up Christian type of sayings. Like my mom, they'll be saying, because it'd be funny when they be saying, I'll be cracking up. My mom, my granny be saying it. I'll be cracking up when they be saying it. But that's like a lie from hell. You don't completely control all of your reality, because if that's so, some of the stuff that I intended to go certain ways would in fact have went those ways that I've intended. There was an actual event situation that kind of left me in complete turmoil because it didn't go out in the way that I thought it was going to go. It did. It put tears in my eyes and everything. Complete turmoil. I was a hot mess. That in itself had to show to me in my very eyes, we don't fully control our destiny. We don't fully control our reality. Because if that was the truth, everything that I tried to do in that area, not once, but twice, it happened to me twice. 2 different occasions. Those things would have actually happened, and yet they didn't. And after it was done, I felt something say, it was never meant from the beginning. See what I'm saying? So to go through an experience twice, as in these things chain link together, these totally two different event things happen on two different occasions, to try to go forth in that, as in walk in that and make that a possibility, and yet it not happen. And for it to come out in the end to show me, as in told me, the very thing spoke to me and said it never was meant to happen from the beginning, right? It's to show me that we don't have complete over our destiny. We don't have complete control over our reality. We have control over how we see, as in perspective, how we're viewing things that's on the outside, and even how we're feeling stuff on the inside in relation to intention of how you want things to go. But you have really no absolute control over the things that are outside of you. I was in complete, total despair, as in hopeless, over that very thing, is what I'm trying to say. And that's for all humans. We all experience that thing. You wanted something to go like this, so you made sure to plan and plot every footstep in order to take you there. And then on the other side, as in what meets you around the corner, is a complete, total opposite of where you thought you was going. As in, it didn't line up. It was out of complete alignment and out of balance for your path. There was no point for you to even be there from the beginning, or maybe it was just to show you that very thing. To look in the eyes of another is to never be. I'm saying, even people who, where I see certain people when I be like on Facebook or even in conversation where people be saying they in love with this man, or a woman in love with a man, or a man in love with a woman, or a job situation, when I be seeing that, right? And it never happens or it never works out, it's for it to show that individual something in the area of the outcome. All I can say, it was never meant from the beginning. And yet you were there, as in guided there, for a reason. Sometimes, yeah, because I have yet to talk, maybe I should ask people about that more. And maybe I should make a part 2 to this, letting go of the outcome. As in individuals being guided to something and then getting there and then nothing happens. That has happened before. In the past, when stuff used to happen like that, I didn't really care. I was like, oh, whatever, on to the next. When you're a young kid, me during that time, being in my early 20s, I could still have been considered a kid, because not knowing how the world operates, I just was like, whatever. If it's chaos, then let it bring it, let me feel it, let me be a part of it, and let it go on by its business if it don't work out. But the older I'm getting and gathering internally, I'm like, man, that very thing is frustrating me. Because I've been guided to go in various areas or angles. I've been guided by a source to go there, and yet nothing has came from it. I don't like that. It's one of the things I can't stand, and yet I have yet to speak to various individuals for them to ponder their life and their world, how they were, where they felt they were being guided and led to something, and then when they got there, nothing happened. They were just there. I don't like stuff like that. I know I'm repeating again. I always repeat, because to repeat is to say it so. I don't like being guided. It just, sometimes I do be wishing the old me would come back. The old me, when I didn't care and I just did stuff for the hell of it. But the mature me is wanting to say, you know what, I can't just be doing anything. I must have some intention behind it. I must have definition. But sometimes the old me be want to come up in the spot and say, you know what, we don't care if nothing work out. We just gonna do it just to do it. That was the old mindset. I didn't care at all. The sky could have completely caved in and I didn't care that anyone knew about it. I just did me and moved on. But even to practice the old you is to practice other stuff that comes with that, which is not very good things. Some of the things that I did in my past, as in how I spoke of others, because how they spoke of me, a lot of times I didn't just speak ill of others just to be speaking ill of others. I mean, certain pastors I did, because I didn't really agree with the whole Christianity lifestyle, right? Areas of where I had been hurt. So to get back at people is to speak about the very religion back then and slander people. Yes, I have in the past. I played a part in that. I didn't like how I was treated. So to get back is to get got. But in me doing stuff in my past and not caring, some of the things that I did, I feel was not right. Of even me doing that, getting back at people that got at me, as in making them pay for it, slapping them in the face. In a sense, that's what I used to do. I used to slap people in the face because they did something completely not legit towards me. And yet my soul was in pain and hurting and in agony that the only way to get back is to say something to them where they could see it. Right there on Facebook. Yes, it was. Or Twitter or whatever. To speak it loud and proud in observance. I didn't have a choice. Because even in that, I felt like I was being led by something to do that. Because see, sometimes things that go around come back around, right? And so God invented pain as well as misery. I feel in the area sometimes people, when they hurt you, not saying that that's intended by God, but even that's a lesson to teach you something. Sometimes we try to measure pain and agony that other people place upon us, right? We try to understand it. And sometimes that could even be a lesson from God itself. To see and know and understand where other people are coming from and them not being of your best interest. So to be tested in that is to be slapped. And the only way for you to handle that yourself is sometimes to slap back. And sometimes a reaction from them come out of it, a completely where they come all the way out of the bag in ways and disguises that you didn't even know was coming for you. You had to see who they are as and take a look that those people are not who you think that they are. They showed you, so that's why God, in fact, or universe tested you. And so I had to see that. Because sometimes I would walk in situations, not saying that I'm innocent or a victim, but I would walk in certain situations that I myself didn't really put myself a part of, but other people wanted me a part of, and yet they were completely hurting me in the process. And yet it was bypassing my eyes. They would intentionally hurt me in various ways, and I wouldn't completely take note until later on when they would get on the phone and say it to my ear, or get right in front of my presence and say it to me just there vocally, to slap me upside the head in areas of where I didn't even do anything wrong to them. I think that was a test from the universe to see what my reaction was going to be for whatever reason. Even that could be possibly to be used for later on in the area of me understanding how to respond back to people is what I'm saying. Some of the people that came across me that completely mistreated me, I knew that it wasn't my fault because they were mistreating other people in the same way, as in breaking hearts, using people for money, slapping them in the face. They were doing all type of stuff, and yet at that time, I thought they were just completely aiming for me. But as I took the time to sit back, what was brought to my awareness was the fact they was doing that to other people as well. So I wasn't the cause. So it wasn't no point for me to even sit guilty in that and apologize for me having to slap them back. Gotta understand life lessons. The lesson is in that was for me to check the outcome as in my response. Because I think now, even in changes, I think now I'm able to be aware to how my response is going to be. Say if somebody even got on YouTube and got to saying something very crazy and stupid to me, I can handle it better. Whereas on the other platform, I just went off. Like, what? Who do you think you're talking to? And ready to fight? Not with guns or anything like that, but fist fight you. But not even in that area, just saying it back with words. Because to be disrespected is to completely come back with something. Especially when people, they don't know you. I said that before, even family. Not on my mom's side, my dad's side. Sometimes people don't fully know you, and so they get to calling you out in ways and fashions that they shouldn't do, and it makes you look bad in front of other people, right? And they completely paint you in a negative, and that can mess you up. Stuff like that can mess up people's career, it can mess up anything, right? So to be slighted by that is to be fronted in the ear of me responding back. I'm able to handle stuff like that better. As in not paying attention and not playing into it, because see, even to play a victim can stop your footsteps. So to bypass people who are not going anywhere in life is to not play the game of paying attention to them. Those people die off as they should. That's their sole intent, is to die off, and negativity, you leave them to that. But outcomes of various situations or even stuff like that. That in fact could have been grooming me for even today going into the future in the realm of spotlight. Who knows? Because even to stand under a light like this and be on a video is to have somebody randomly respond to you as in an outcome, and you're not fully knowing how to take that very thing. So once again, maybe God sent people on your path like that so you know how to take it when it happens and it comes. We're not going to always be in agreement with each other is what I'm saying. Even here on YouTube. Because to be an individual, as an individuality, is to have a very different voice of, say, the person that you're listening to. So you're going to have, in fact, different perspective. And yet to respect other people is to say and voice what you feel and you think, and yet no slandering people in disguise. But even if you do, I guess that part don't even matter anyway, because usually a person that is a nobody will sit slandering somebody they don't know. I myself was guilty of an individual because I didn't know where they was coming from. But to have family members do that type of stuff on my dad's side is to understand that them individuals is a no-go. Which is why I can't be bothered with them no more. Hit the flow. Moving on. So, yes. Perceiving the outcome. As in letting go. To be a free spirit, in which I was in my past, in which I still am today, is to struggle with that very thing of just free spiriting. Just flowing with the wind and going. And no repercussions behind it as you go. You pay for what you hold on to is what I'm trying to say. It seems like to me. When I hold on to stuff, I have to pay for it in the end. When I say I'm going on a diet and I try to live by that diet, it's almost that thing makes me want to now eat more. Now that I said that I'm on a diet, and I end up paying for it because then I want to snack on stuff. Right? When I say, oh, like what I got on right now is my uniform. I like to say it's my uniform. I got on a black coat, black cap, black sunglasses, black sweatshirt. Up under it is a black tee with black sweatpants, black socks on, as well as black shoes or boots that I wear. Right? And sometimes black gloves will go with it, but a lot of times black gloves. That's my uniform. Being in all black is my uniform, which is why you'll see me on here. And even the logo says AVIVA, which means the AVIVA brand. That's branded in black with white lettering, right? But I didn't really plan that. I planned, see, all my stuff, all my plans type of stuff don't be going as it should. Even when I try to pose consistency, it's not going as it should. Sometimes I don't really be liking that because, see, my whole plan of my uniform is what I already wear. The button-up shirts with the slacks and the blazers with the hat tilted to the side. as in a beanie hat, right? But sometimes, even with the plans of that, some stuff stand in the way. As in me not wearing it, being able to wear it every day. To have two dogs and know you got to clean up their messes and no one understands sometimes dog poop or pee can get on your good clothes while you're taking them outside or being in a muddy environment. So, stuff like that stands in the way of the plan. And yet the sweatpants of what I'm wearing, this is more of the uniform than anything. And yet I didn't even plan that. It just came across one day like, man, I'm standing in a uniform. I love the whole appeal of the uniform. I does, because it speaks consistency. But if I try to plan out a uniform tomorrow, something that's different, more than likely it's not going to work. The things that I'm trying to plan is going completely shotgun on me, as in leading to a vacancy in the area of it being a complete no-go. When I try to make beats, this is another discussion. I need to make a video on that. When I try to make beats, sometimes that's a no-go in the area of when I try to plan it. See, I can wake up, my best instrumentals as in beats, as composing and all that other stuff, has been better when it has not been a strategic plan. That's a struggle as well, because see, I can wake up in the morning and say, you know what? I'm not going to even get on this machine, as in my MacBook. I'm not going to even get on here and make a beat. I just want to get on here and play with sounds, just to see what happens. And I might end up throwing it away in the end. But those are somehow the best times when I make the best beats, is when I just say I'm going to get on here and play around with some sounds and sound effects and plugins and, just not even have a beat in mind. That's when my best stuff comes, as in the beats. But when I say I'm going to sit down and plan a transaction, as in making a beat, it's a complete no-go. It's almost as if it's a waste of time, because by the time I get done, the whole beat is garbage. It is. And it's been like that even in the past sometimes, when people was asking about me writing songs for them, love songs. Some of the stuff that I had already pre-made by hand, as in crafted, was already there, as in they could take it and go, because I write a lot anyway. But when I would say, let me sit down and try to write something for them, it would always come to a standstill, as in a stop. And when I would try to force myself through it, it would be total, complete opposite of what I was thinking. It will be garbage, as in me forced to throw it away. So things that I try to force, that's what I'm speaking on, the outcome. As in the force as you forcing stuff, you are being met by resistance when you force stuff. I've always been known to force stuff, even when it doesn't feel right, just for me to get it done. And some of my best stuff in the past have came from me sometimes being forced, but at the same time, it wasn't like I was completely doing it myself. It was like I was being guided by a hand, by God or source, to do that very thing. There was like no attachments to me. I was freely doing it. Like something was like, it's time for me to work on this thing, music, and we got to do it. We got to get it done. But I didn't know what way I was going to go. But when I try to force a way to go, it don't work out. It's a mess in the end. But when I just sit back and be like, okay, I'm going to do this thing and I'm just going to walk away, all good things come. So it goes to show you about what they say, you control your own life. That in itself don't add up. As in things speak for themselves, as in what you allow. That's what people should say. What you allow the universe or God to happen in your life, what you allow is what shows up. Because all this other stuff talking about controlling this and controlling that is to only be met with resistance and grief. It is. As in sadness and depression when things don't go your way. Or when they don't go as planned. that's what stands on the other side. Is depression. It does. I've experienced that as well. Stuff not going and then falling in a pit of sadness. Like, well, I tried. I tried to make this go. I tried to, and I put all this effort in, and look at what I have. I have nothing. I don't even have a T-bone steak. And yet I don't even eat red meat like that. I'm just saying an example. So, I think from here on out, I think I just need to slowly coast through life, you know? Although it makes me uncomfortable, that makes me completely uncomfortable. Makes me want to lose it. Not go insane, but I don't like that unsettled feel of not having control over situations. But may I continue to meet like-minded individuals on the way. See, even that, when I said I want to meet more people like me, individuals, right? When I kept focusing on it, I kept saying, you know, I want to meet people like me. I want to be surrounded, even online, people in groups that I can speak to and hold conversations with, people like me. And yet, I don't want to say things that make them uncomfortable because I have a tendency to say stuff out my mouth in which other people don't believe in. And so that was a kind of a worry, as in pushing them away. And so I wrote that down as something I wanted to do. And now as I stand here, I'm slowly meeting individuals who possess a mindset like I hold. Even INTJ individuals, people outside of that as well. I'm slowly meeting those individuals in which I was thinking. But once I stopped thinking about it, as in once I said I want to do this and I wrote it down, it's like once I stopped paying attention to that is a thing that I wanted, then my actions started to actually go outside of me and grab those very things of which I said I wanted to do, but yet I was not completely focused on it. It was like I was doing it unconsciously. And I'm actually satisfied with the results of that, which is scary in itself. To want things sometimes is to start doing them unconsciously, and yet not wanting to expect certain outcomes. Because I didn't know how that was go. I was more thinking like, what if I say some stuff and they get pissed off because we hold completely different views. But then as I got on there, I started freely talking to random people, a whole bunch of random people. And it's like I didn't even care. I was in a whole different zone. Not thinking about the outcome of if this person is going to put me down because of what I said. Because I didn't even really care about that. In the beginning I did. But as I was going, I don't. Even getting here on YouTube. Getting right here on YouTube. Something kept telling me. Something kept speaking to me. I've been on YouTube since 2008, 2009. I spoke on that before. But I had another account. And I wasn't on there speaking. I would just post various things that was funny for other people to see on Facebook. So I will make a video on YouTube, drag it over to Facebook and post it. So it wasn't like I was living on YouTube. That was just my introduction to what meets the eyes today, as in me having a totally different, completely outlook now, different perspective, as well as being on a different account doing other things, as in speaking before your very eyes. I was sensing a pull to come here and be on this platform, which was one of my opening videos, right? But I was like, nah, because see, before mom went to South Africa, I kept figuring out how is that going to work. I was watching video after video of different people. And I'm sure with those people didn't really completely have an outcome in being here on YouTube. Saying everyday people, not celebrity people, just everyday people. possibly didn't have an outcome of how they were going to drive their YouTube as in being seen. So before I got on here and before mom left for Africa back in February, I kept thinking I wanted to do content marketing on here, as in getting my other camera and showing off products and how you sell products right. But then I kept thinking that's not completely me. So what is the outcome going to be of me being right here on this YouTube platform? I'm being drawn to speak, and yet I've always spoke more so in the written form, as in not placing my face on a place like YouTube to be seen, as in you seeing my eyes and my physical aspect. But something just kept saying, get on YouTube. And it was a little, not really fear, but it was a leery, because to not know what you're going to say is to worry about that very thing, as in the outcome, as in the direction, the vehicle. Where is the vehicle going to drive to if a soft-spoken voice whispers from intuition and says, get on YouTube, that's what you're supposed to do. Your purpose to be on YouTube is what I was hearing. See what I'm saying? And somebody mentioned after I graduated, they was like, well, what are you going to do outside of what you do now? What are you going to do on the side? Because they know that I've always been used to doing multiple things. But they were wondering, what are you going to do in the form of audio in relation to speaking, as in a fast forward tape, speeding up and slowing down, rewind the tape, right? So I was like, because seeming that's what I got on paper of me graduating from college from was that in the realm of audio production, right? And so they were like, maybe you should do broadcasting. Maybe you should do podcasting. They kept saying all this other stuff, right? And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. But I remember years back, I had a best friend who was a lot older than me. She worked at a local radio station. Hopefully she don't see this video. I might end up showing it to her I might end up showing this video to her just as a shout out or whatnot. I'm not going to say her name, but her last name ends with a G. That's a shout out. What's up? Anyway, so she worked at a local radio station, and she used to give me and this other individual free concert tickets to see celebrities in concert, right? And she used to also give me free albums and stuff like that. And so when she worked at that radio station, I used to think in the back of my head, like, man, what if I worked at a radio station in the future? That's what I kept thinking, in the realm of broadcasting. That would be so cool, because you're basically just standing there or sitting there playing music, but you're also running the audio console, right? Which is what I practically majored in college. You're running the audio console at a radio station playing music, and not only that, you're basically a voiceover, but you're not doing acting voiceover work. But people are hearing you. See, at a radio station is different than, say, being on YouTube, because people are hearing you and yet they're not seeing your face, right? And I had took a what is it? Hiatus is when you disappear, right? During the time of when I was doing a lot of heavy studying for music and stuff like that. That was the year of 2015. That was 2015 going into last year, 2017. So I kind of like disappeared, right? I had no interest in showing myself, expressing myself, even openly. And I didn't have any interest of showing my face. But as time goes on, I in fact want the world to see my face. As in get involved right here on the YouTube platform, and I don't know why that is. I stand in question of even that. See, to not know a face, I said that when I go back to 2014, I can see where I said that. I was on Twitter when I said it. I was like, in the future, I'm more than likely going to do things where people are going to be able to see my face. And I remember I said that music is completely passive. To know not, so when I said that, I specifically wrote it out for other people to see. Back in 2014, I said, matter of fact, it was like March 2014. I said, to not see a face is to not know it's there. That's what I said. To not see a face is to not know it's there. And so I could even see myself back then standing in today doing things such as film, as in me even filming myself on a camcorder, which is where I sit right now in 2018. That was 4 years ago. 3.5 years ago, almost 4 years ago. Interesting what time tells, as in the transaction of what you remember. But the outcome, even back then I wasn't holding on to the outcome. I didn't even know where I was going. I didn't even know I was going to actually go back to school, as in finishing Full Sail out completely, going back. I had to go back in order to move forward, as in going back to Full Sail, completing what I started. I started there, but didn't finish. So to get done is to say I'm finally done. But I didn't know that that outcome was coming. So if I walked away, right? Listen to me when I say this. Because see, I walked away from Facebook and yet I'm still on there. I have to be, because for the simple fact, there's different groups that I like on there, right? But I don't really post on my wall. And I said that before, I don't really post too much on the wall. Maybe I should get back into that. But I feel completely different in a zone. I really am not interested in that. Unless say it's like marketing and advertising. I could see myself doing that again on there, because see, Facebook was my complete total playground. Facebook was my playground. Yes, it was, when I had a childlike mind and doing crazy stuff. Marketing and advertising as well. Facebook was my playground. And yet to move forward from something is to do something else, as in bigger, better, brighter things, better, brighter futures. As I stand right here on YouTube platform, see, I've walked away from other things, as in me doing other things. But I can't never see myself walking away from YouTube. Never say never. Who knows? I might one day wake up and say, you know, if I completely give up on this. I ain't interested. But there's almost a chain link to that. Like, I need YouTube in my life. I need to be seen as well as heard, but not in the area of people listening to build my self-esteem. Not that. That's a self-responsibility thing. But it's like I want to be seen as well as heard in the area of vocalization. Vocalizing things, as in matters and political matters and special matters in the area of human activity, where humans get along and sometimes they don't get along, related to topics and discussions and worldviews. Like, that's why I feel like my sole intent right now in this season is why I'm here on YouTube. But I don't see why. Because see, Facebook, I thought Facebook would be in the area of the outcome and not knowing what the outcome holds, as I move all around in detail, trailblazing as I go, as in soft spoken word stuff, right? I thought Facebook would be the very thing, as in part of my life forever, because Facebook came before everything. That's how I marketed and advertised everything back then. But I would never thought YouTube would become its replacement. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm in question of that today in relation to the outcome. I can no longer be seen anywhere with anyone just typing stuff out. Although I'm a writer, I can no longer be seen doing that type of activity on social media, as in holding conversations, unless say it's answering back right here on YouTube. You don't have a choice but to answer in the comment section. But in me vocalizing my thoughts, I can never be seen anymore, say doing that type of stuff on other social media platforms, say like Facebook or Twitter, without me fully vocalizing it, as in a speech pattern. It's something about that, and I don't know what God is trying to show me or say, and yet I don't want to get wrapped up in the outcome, because to get wrapped up in that is even to be disappointed. But I no longer like that, the detail of just writing. I want to be seen and heard, as in loud, but not screaming, not doing Donald Trump affairs, acting crazy, not that type of stuff. But to be vocal, as in vocalization, is to say out front, and people see your facial expressions, as in the detail. I like that, and I like this. The longer I go with this YouTube, I just feel like from here on out, this is what it is, as in that is what it's spelling to me. The sole intention is for me to be right here on YouTube where I stand. It's not meant for me to walk away when I look at outcome and try to figure out the outcome, because I was like, well, what should I do with this YouTube? Should I take it in this direction? Should I take it in that direction, right? And even the universe, there go that clock again. Irritating clock. Should I take a hammer to the clock? Mom will be too pissed. She might come home and fight me in the form of religious terms. Anyway, so meeting at a glance, as in right here on YouTube, because I play back all my videos, sometimes before I upload them and sometimes afterwards, just to study the way that I say stuff. But I can't really see. It's like, what is this pull to YouTube? It's like I'm driven and led. Like there's an actual pull to me. Come on, baby, come to YouTube. Come on, you're not leaving. You will never be leaving YouTube. That's what I feel. It's meant for me to sit and talk here on camera. But as I was saying before, that reminded me when I kept saying on Twitter, when I was on Twitter, like way before I got on YouTube, I kept saying, rewind the tape, rewind the tape. I was saying that, rewind the tape, but I was posting a whole bunch of other people's YouTube videos on Twitter, right? And so I had went to go see a buddy of mine, but she's not following me on Twitter. Matter of fact, she don't even know that Twitter account exists. And as I was thinking in my mind, what should I do next? This was before I got on YouTube. She came out and said, rewind the tape. I'm thinking to myself, how could she say that? And she don't even know that I'm on Twitter. And I never posted that on Facebook. So that was almost like a clue for me to be right here where I am. Live streaming. When I figure out what goes on with my internet, as in it's trying to get it sped up, I got to figure out a situation with that to get my internet speeded up, because I want to do live streams. I really want to do that. Like, it's something about the TV. And I don't even watch TV unless it says movies like Netflix. I was watching Greenleaf and stuff like that. I don't even really sit and watch TV unless it says something in the realm of what I already do. I don't really go too far outside of that in watching TV. Sitting watching cable TV, stuff like that. That's not my thing. But when I get glued to a screen, as in a TV screen, because what you're seeing me as is in fact TV, I get glued to that. I get glued to that. So, I was saying, let me try to formulate a plot of some of the stuff that I could discuss on YouTube, and yet something kept sensing in me, just do it. You don't have to always plan out what you are in fact going to say, even on YouTube. You don't have to plan out what your niche is going to be, because even that can stunt your growth. When I was saying, well, let me get on YouTube and let me try to plan an outcome of what I should design, like logo, what I should design conversation wise, and which I'm speaking on, I notice I'm too diverse for that. I'm a diverse individual, which is how I got on the Oprah platform in the very beginning from the first place. To be too diverse is to not speak on just one topic. See what I'm saying? When I spoke on the Asia degree topic, and if it was possible, say a family member could have murdered, Asia degree, the young child that came up missing at 9 years old, I like speaking on that because I feel the pain of wanting to know. I feel the pain of wanting to know what happened to her. That's a very deep diving interest of mine. I want to know what happened to Asia degree. Even if I won't pray about that. And I don't even do Christianity. But I kind of want to ask God or the universe what happened to her. As in, like, show me through a dream. I would love to see what happened. See, some people fear stuff like that. What happened to Asia degree? I want to be shown that in a dream, specifically what happened to that young girl. I'll make a video about it because I don't fear nobody. I don't. I'll make a fear about it, what I seen. Who's to say the dream will be precise, but you never know. I've seen some things that have actually happened. Yes, I have. I'm going to ask the universe to show me what happened to Asia degree. As in, what happened that night? What happened to her? Did she get killed? Who plotted whatever? How it was done, and if she got killed. And if she got killed, where in fact was her body hidden? See, there was an incident where I said that my uncle was killed by his girlfriend. Yes, he was. And this show was in fact on Fatal Attraction. I should make a video about that. I will later. He was killed. I still got his car. I got his car, whatever, for my birthday some years back, way back in 2004. And so his girlfriend killed him. And the whole time I kept sensing a man and woman did it. And I seen it in a dream. I seen somebody standing by a washer and dryer trying to wash their clothes off. And not only that, I seen he was in the actual house screaming. In my dream, I seen this. In a dream, I seen him screaming. And not only that, I seen a man and a woman being involved in that and them leaving out the house, leaving him like that. As in dying. Dead. Yes. Come to find out later, it was in fact a man and woman that was involved in his death. Sad as it sounds. But to have a dream like that before it took place, because I had that dream somewhere around the time that somebody broke into my house. Around that time, a lot of stuff was going real bad in my life. I don't know why it was. It was just many things that was going bad. And his death was around that time too, that it happened. I had a dream of Aaliyah, the singer, dying before she died. I seen that. Whitney Houston, I seen her dying before she died. It was a recent concert that I went to. I saw myself sitting in the actual seating area in that actual concert venue, right? And I actually attended it. Yes, I did. I seen that before it happened. Like a year and a half before it happened. To want to know something sometimes is to be seen. I can take it. Because even that, I'm the type of individual, if I see something like that, I will point it out to the police. They might not believe me, but at least they could possibly go search the area of where I said. Because people was in shock when I was in question of, yes, I do think and sense, because I saw it in a dream, that my uncle was in fact killed by a man and woman. A police was looking for the individual as in a suspect for a whole year before they found him, and come to find out it was a woman. Why do I see stuff in my dream like that? There was a girl that was, she was kind of like somewhat addicted to taking sleeping pills because I believe she was bipolar. She was trying to tell me what she was, but not specifically tell me what she was. She had some area where she wouldn't sleep. And like I told her, I said, I struggle with sleep too. But I'm more of a night owl, whereas she has to go to sleep so she can get up in the morning to go to school and work and stuff like that. She has to go to sleep at night. So she would have a hard time rustling in bed trying to go to sleep. And so she had became addicted to taking sleeping pills. And one of those very sleeping pills was in fact Ambien. And so that it was like somewhere in the daytime I had took a nap. And that was too around that time when my uncle got murdered and around that time when our house got robbed. That was all in the same months. A lot of crazy stuff was happening during that time. It was. I had a dream that she died from taking sleeping pills. I had a dream and it freaked me out to the fact I was on a train. I went to go get on a train and a young girl who I seen in the dream was the same individual I would talk to on the phone and text messaging as well as on Facebook, which is how I came across her in the first place. We was on a train and some lady came on a train in my dream and sat next to me and told me, we on the way to such and such funeral. And I was like, what? I was like, how could that be? She ain't dead. She alive. She said, no, she died from taking sleeping pills. Ambien. She did an overdose of Ambien, right? That dream in itself woke me up because it freaked me out. And as soon as I woke up, she called me right on the phone and was like, what is you doing? And I said, you know what? I went off on her. I said, no, what is you doing? I said, let me ask you something. Because she didn't tell me before this that she was on sleeping pills like that. That dream showed me that. As soon as I woke up from what it was, in fact, a nightmare, I consider it a nightmare because it freaked me out. To be told on a train in your dream that people are going to her funeral, they're on their way because she died of taking Ambien, is enough for a light bulb to go off. So as soon as I woke up from the nightmare, my phone rung and it was her. And I had to talk with her. I went off on her. Completely went off on her. She was nothing but like in her 20s. She was about 20, 21. I went off on her. I went all the way off. I said, I don't know what you doing over there or what your practices is and you taking and popping pills, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you keep doing that, you're going to end up dead. I said, tell me what type of pills are you taking? She wouldn't say at first. And I asked her, I said, is it Ambien? And she ended up saying Ambien too. And she was like, oh my gosh, those are the pills. Because see, I said it first. I said it before she did. I said, I just had a dream that you died because you was addicted to taking the sleeping pill Ambien and it killed you. And in that dream, people were on the way to your funeral. And she was like, oh my gosh. She had called me by the nickname of which I used to go by back then. She was like, oh my gosh. Those are the pills that I take. I take Ambien to go to sleep. And it freaked me out. I went off on her some more. I didn't take that as a joke, is what I'm saying. I went completely off on her, like spazzed out. In the worst way that you can spazz out, I spazzed out on this individual. Because it'd be 2021 taking some Ambien to go to sleep. And then for me to have that nightmare like I did, that made a light bulb go off. And to receive a phone call right after you waking up from the nightmare is to show the very thing of which it was. I have psychic abilities and yet certain stuff I'm saying in the area of other people's lives, not my own, pertaining to other people. I be showed certain things pertaining to other people in which I stand correct as. There was an individual that was interested in me. Not interested love-wise, but they stand in the family, right? And I kept sensing their whole intention was nothing but to get money out of me. As in using me for the intention of just trying to get money out of me. And I ran into their girlfriend, and their girlfriend told me recently, last summer, she said I had to leave him because he just wants to use me for money and nothing more. Intuition is loud. It's vocal. You ain't even got to say nothing and yet intuition speaks to you. It's a clear view record is all I'm trying to say. And yet You never have to say or open your mouth to say one word. But yeah, the outcome. YouTube. I really can't really see myself being in one lane, as in a niche. Because if I did the Oprah platform before in the area of vocalizing things on various topics outside of just one thing, is to know I can't stay within that, as in having a niche of doing one thing. I can get on here and make content marketing type videos. I can get on here and do all type of marketing type of stuff because that's my specialty. And yet that really is not going to work, because that type of thing leads to you being typecast in the area. If I was to do just that and say I just want to put music on here, people will start to unsubscribe and not like it, or come and tell me about myself. Like, well, why did you speak about, missing girls? Why did you speak about that and then change the topic to something else? And then change the topic to music and then add a discussion about this. Because I want my stuff to follow in the lane and the path of Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey, when she does stuff, it's all over the place. Look at how Oprah Winfrey move. That woman is old as smoke in which she stands in. I mean, she don't stand still, which means it's fire up underneath her toes, which makes it, smoke left behind her, as in others sniffing it. Us, the viewers, watching Oprah Winfrey go as she moves. She's an older woman to be moving as quick as she does. So I kind of want to follow in her footsteps in the area of doing what she does, in a sense, not focusing on one topic. See, I'm not going to get on here and do no reality shows. That is not really an interest of mine. And who's to say that could even in fact come later in having an RV and filming and taping it, as in me, mom, and my relatives, my nieces, nephews, grandmother and stuff like that. Because even that is of interest, showing life for what it is, living in and out of an RV, traveling around the United States, even traveling, period. But I don't want to really sit and talk about one thing. Me, myself, I'm drawn to people that talk about one thing. Here on YouTube, everyday people that sit and they talk about stuff that is just talking about one niche. I like stuff like that because I can learn. That helps me not have my attention span. See, I can even latch on to them without fully latching on to them while I'm watching them. That's their niche. It's one guy that talks completely about marketing because he worked in advertising, so he know the complete games, as in the up and down and all around. So I watch him just to be focused on what he's saying. Video after video is what it speaks on. Marketing, him. And then there's other people that all they talk about is having an RV. I can watch that to keep me focused. Got what I'm saying? Who else? I'm trying to think of who else I watch. There's some people that speak on music production. They talk about music theory. They talk about everything in relation to music and producing music, as in sound. I can listen to them because it keeps me focused. When I want to learn, I just listen to video after video after video and watch them as I go. But for me, I can't do that. That ties me in, as in it leashes me to one chain thing, in which more than likely I'm not going to be able to stick to. Even arts and crafts. I watched different individuals and spoke with an individual that does arts and crafts right here on YouTube with children. I can watch that because it keeps me focused on what that woman is doing. It shows me, well, if I want to try this out with my nieces and nephews, I could actually do that. But for me to actually do it, my attention span is so quick. And that poses a problem too. I have a quick attention span. I can't keep focused on one thing for too long unless it's a niche, as in somebody that's outside of me and them doing it. But when it comes to me creating stuff, I can't do it. So that's why I try to do stuff in the area of discussing stuff like, say, Oprah Winfrey would, being all over the place. Because I believe, to have a all over the place mindset is to want to be open to all type of things and not just one. Oprah Winfrey, in fact, has an all over mindset, and yet the public doesn't know. You have to have a all over mindset, as in being everywhere and having other people pick up the slack, as in your paperwork, as in putting it through to create projects. A very open-minded individual, as a very highly evolved individual, holds those type of mindsets. And yet to get boxed into one thing is to not only allow yourself to get bored, but allow the viewer to get bored. What you're going to say, which is why Oprah is in fact everywhere, as in her attention span and doing and jumping all type of things. Even P. Diddy is like that. The rapper P. Diddy, he's like that. They have a very short attention spans, and them not wanting to get boxed in, because they know to be boxed in and say not do it right. Because many people on YouTube that have a niche and it's just one thing they do. Certain people like a P. Diddy or Oprah, they know if they don't do it right, then that can be their own demise, as in their brand dying off. Which is why they in fact jump everywhere and do everything and jump on every bandwagon that's going, and sometimes be the very creator of certain bandwagons for others to follow. So I don't think a niche really works for me. Not now. As I get my feet wet right here on YouTube and not expect too many outcomes, I don't think right now a niche is going to work for me. I have to stay open, as in experimenting with various topics, and sometimes posting music, because that's the heart and soul of me, posting just music too. So I'm going to try, and I'm not going to even really try, as in letting go of the outcome and allowing the universe to do its work, and just let intention, as in purpose, meet me from the ground here running. I think that's all to be said for now. But I had to get that out because it was frustrating me over a few matter of days of stuff not working the way that I want them to. Because I like side on top of what I do. Excuse me. That's that broth. I like projects on top of what I do, as in side stuff. Right? I like that. But the pose of outcome is to block it. I don't want to stand in the way. Because see, when you let go of an outcome and you just do things for the hell of it, it's almost as if it's as easy as breathing. It's almost as easy as it's being alive. And yet the place of outcome is to halt. It's to stop. And so that could have in fact been the very thing which have recently been stopping my steps, is me getting too caught up in the outcome and the resolution of how things should go, as in me thinking how they should go. And yet they might not be intended for it to go that way. So with YouTube, Full Sail is contacting me again. Let me see something right quick. I'm going to have to start going next year, possibly next summer, or even before then, when we get our RV or whatever is to happen, is to start going to some Full Sail events. Full Sail the university. Now, didn't I completely unsubscribe from Live Nation? Every time I unsubscribe from Live Nation, as in their concerts, as what's coming up, they constantly subscribe me back after I done already unsubscribed. And yet I'm not going to report them. I'm just going to unsubscribe again and not answer back to anything else. I knew they was doing that. Something told me when they sent me, because see, when I went to the Janet Jackson concert, that was back in October of 2017. I went to that concert and it was done and over with, right? And yet I did a review on the concert when I did the show. About a month afterwards, Live Nation sent me something. Was it Live Nation? Wait a minute, hold on. Let me see. Because I might be in fact, no, I got it wrong. I'm sorry, I got it wrong. That was in fact another different arena. I'm sorry. Sorry, Live Nation. You can continue to send me stuff. Make it good though, Cause if it's boring, I'm unscribing. I'm unsubscribing from you, Live Nation. If it's boring, if it's whack, I might check out some concerts next year. Who knows? I never really, been to country type of concerts. I always wanted to go to Nashville. Should I make a video about that? Go to Music Row, as in just hang out and kick it in Music Row, right? See what's up. But I got that messed up Live Nation wasn't the one. It was somebody else, another venue. And I'm like, didn't I just whatever? I said, these people are trying to chain me to come back here after they done made me do a review. They trying to make me do another one just so that I can subscribe back. Because after I did the review again, yes, I completed it again over this individual as Janet Jackson for her concert and show. I thought this actual venue was trying to lead me to come back to the website, because after you do the review, there is a page that it redirects you to, which is the main website of that venue. You got to understand marketing and advertising. I'm a beast at that game, and knowing and understand marketing and advertising, and how businesses try to sell to you stuff when you don't want to be bothered with them no more, as in them constantly sending you stuff. They know how to in fact chain you to stuff, although you deleted yourself out of their system, yet they haven't. So Full Sail sending me something. I'm going to have to go to some events for Full Sail and see what's going on. They piss me off sometimes. I won't speak on that. They know. But yes, the outcome. I'm giving myself here on YouTube is probably going to be a bumpy ride. Who knows? But since I signed on February of 2017, no, I'm sorry, February of 2018 is when I started YouTube officially, as in broadcasting my voice being told, spoken, whatever. I'm going to try to do this for another 10 years. Yes, I am. If YouTube and Google is still running for the next 10 years, I want to in fact be a part of this platform, as in being a creator to help build it, along with other creators, small channels on here. That's my dying wish. Dying wish. That means to slowly die as you age. That's what that means when I say dying wish. That don't mean I'm dying of anything, illness or anything. But if I can sit on this platform for another 10 years, you don't never know what could happen. As in, these videos, whose hands they might end up in, is what I'm trying to say. And yet I'm trying to bypass the outcome of even that on everything. To stand, sit, as well as walk, filming myself talking for the next 10 years on YouTube, is to not know what to make of it. Because I think Facebook was even a practice of my writing skills. Because I'm a writer. I can write and write and write for 10 hours. That's what I do. I love to write, right? And so to use free time wisely is how I used my free time when I was on Facebook. I used it to write, which is how I'm so much good and thorough, proficient in writing today, was during my free time on Facebook. And yet to improve a writing skill is to be able to speak it out, as in coming forward, airing, even across a network, such as a global platform. That's where I stand here today. So I'm not going to force it. I'm not going to force anything. I'm just going to let my toes tiptoe where they be, as in where they see for the next 10 years. That's all to be said. It's a free flow video. None is scripted. Sometimes I can't really know what I'm going to say until I in fact say it. That's how my brain operates. Sometimes I don't know what I'm going to do, which is why I'm trying to let go of outcome too, because sometimes I don't know what I'm going to actually do until I actually do it. even in the area of open my mouth. To not do something scripted, as in these words, vocal pieces put together and yet shed before your very eyes, is to say some things and yet not know what you're going to say till you're in fact vocalize them, as in speech, which is too why I'm on here. So I'm going to end this video. Like and subscribe as you will, as you probably already have been. But yeah, share, like, and subscribe. I'm gone.